Good evening, everyone. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Alicia, the Select Board admin, and I'm excited to be here tonight. On behalf of myself and the Select Board, thank you to all of the candidates that are in attendance tonight. We do appreciate your time in being here. Each candidate will be given 5 minutes to introduce themselves. When I start asking questions that have been submitted by citizens, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer. When you hear my timer go off, please wrap up your answer. If you need a question to be reread, please do not hesitate to ask. Before we get started, I know we will all agree to show respect to each candidate by allowing them to finish their comments without any interruptions. Each candidate will have the opportunity to be heard before we conclude the evening. Thank you again to each candidate, audience member, and citizen watching from home. Let's get started. So we'll go with the introductions first. So Howard, you can start us out by that.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Howard Burnham. I'm 74 years old. I've lived in Limerick all my life. My family's lived in this town for as near as I can figure 218 years as of today. I've owned businesses in this town for the past 56 years. One of them being Woodland Valley Disc Golf, that my wife Linda and my 3 sons owned for 19 years. I also was a building contractor and built many houses in town and elsewhere in southern Maine. I've got an associate degree in construction technology from Southern Maine Technical College and a Bachelor of Science degree in industrial technology from the University of Southern Maine. I'm retired from Southern Maine Community College, where I was a full-time professor and chairman of the Construction Technology Department for 32 years. I've served 3 previous terms as selectman, 2 terms on the planning board, 1 term on the appeals board, and 1 term on the budget committee. My objectives are as follows: strive to lower property taxes, promote more business in town and strengthen existing ones, manage the town's business better, no more kicking the can down the road as far as I'm concerned. No more sweetheart deals, as former resident George Carroll used to say. Provide responses to residents quickly and in a reasonable time. Give better control of the town expenditures by making sure that we have up-to-date balance sheets for all departments at every selectmen's meetings, so we know how much money we have in each account in order to approve or deny a purchase request. Hold employees and companies working for the town accountable. Create a 5-year building maintenance plan to determine future expenditures on the town-owned buildings and plots. Have all town offices open daily 9 to 5. Replace our present attorney to get better representation. I'm not running to see if I can get out of it what I can personally. If elected, I want everyone to know that I will work in the best interest of every taxpayer, not for my own personal benefit. Thank you.
My name is Cliff Finch. Everybody knows me as Bud. I was born and raised in Scarborough, graduated from Scarborough High School, enlisted in the United States Army, retired in '97. I actually owned my own Mr. Transmission franchise while we were down in Augusta, Georgia. Built that business up for nothing to a business that we were able to sell and move back home because of family. I've been back here ever since. I do have a part-time business at my shop, at my house. I'm a full-time automotive instructor at Southern Maine Community College. We've lived here for 23 years, and I'm not real impressed with what I've seen in the last few years, what I've heard. I believe that we really need to take a long, hard look at the way that this town is governed and some of the expenditures. Property taxes have gotten way out of hand. And I really don't see where we're getting the most bang for our buck. I don't know where all this money is going. As Howard said, some of the stuff really needs to be looked at. I'm not in this for my own personal gain. I think that the townspeople deserve somebody that will come in here, be impartial, and take a look at what's going on. And that's, I know I didn't waste 5 minutes, but that's all I have to say.
That's fine. Bernie?
Hi, I'm Bernie Carroll. I've lived here my entire life, like Howard has. My family's been here for several generations. Raised my family here. I went to school here. Spent 3 years almost in this exact spot here. Graduated from Massapequa High School. Graduated from SMVTI, which is now Southern Maine Community College. I've always given to the town. I joined the fire department when I was 16 years old. I spent 40 active years there. After that, I was on various boards. I was asked to be on the Fire Chief Selection Committee, Fire Department Building Committee, and the Oversight Committee. I've got a pretty good range of experience with buildings and infrastructure, and I'm going to be the first one to tell you that there's a lot to learn here. As much as I know, I probably got twice as much to learn with how the town runs. However, I agree with Howard and Bud. We have to kind of track the finances a little better. I'd like to see if we could get the articles to go back to the way they used to be. They were broken out a little more. So if somebody had a question with one part of the article, they didn't say, well, we have to vote it because it kills the whole thing. That doesn't work. I'd also like to see us go back to town meeting. We have a brand new facility that can hold a town meeting until we get another facility ready for that. Agree we need a comprehensive committee on the buildings in this town. We have to figure out what we gotta do, what we wanna keep, what we have to upgrade. And there's a lot of work that need to be done on some of these buildings. Take a look at this one, an example, in the daylight. It needs a lot of work. Town hall's the same way, and the town hall is gonna be one of those mainstay buildings. I know it's expensive to operate, but we have a commitment up there with a fraternal organization. They have to stay there, and I think the people should have the use of part of that so they feel as though they're getting something for their tax dollar. I have nothing to gain from this position at all. I will try and do the best I can, and anybody that knows me knows I will put the effort in to making things work. Might not always like the answers, but that's what it is. Every problem has a solution. Sometimes you just don't like the solution. Thanks.
Dottie?
Hi, my name's Dottie Richard. I've been a resident up here since 2013, when I retired after 40-some-odd years with the state of Massachusetts. My family has been coming up here since the mid to late 50s, somewhere around there. It's too long ago to remember. So I've got some roots in here. I'm not a long-term resident like everybody else, but I do care about what goes on with the town, and I want to come in and just do the best I can to, it would be nice to get everything done in taxes in a way that everybody's going to be happy, but I don't know, you just got to do however things work out. But I do have the best interest of the town in mind. Thank you.
I am Rick Richardson. I'm running for road commissioner. I'm 59 years old. I've been in Limerick since 1966. I graduated from Massapequa High School. And I would like to, I plowed snow for the town since 1982 with my father and my brother. And I'm still taking care of the municipal properties as we speak. We've been doing excavating and snow plowing since 1983 also. I would like to see the maintenance of the town roads kept up to speed. The improvements and the maintenance is, the public safety is very important. And I've always worked closely with the code enforcement officer and the select board on issues that needed to be addressed. I'm fortunate to have several other contractors willing to help me out in case of an emergency. I have other people to rely on, to call on, and to assist me if anything needs to be addressed. Being prompt with cleanups, like the storm we had in April, was very important, to get the roads opened up and as promptly as possible to work with CMP and get power restored. My plans are just to continue taking care of the town roads the best as we can. One person can't do it all, so I'm pretty fortunate to have a lot of help and to work closely, like I said, with the code enforcement officer and the select board. And one of my concerns is Staples Road, which we had a forest fire out there last fall, and that road needs to be brought up to, it's closed for winter maintenance, but it needs to be opened up and maintained for summer, spring, summer, and fall maintenance in case of an emergency. And it's also a way for Leamington and Limerick to get in and out of each town. That's about all we got right now, is just do the best I can and keep in touch with the people. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with, we have some questions that are both Select Board and Road Commissioner, and then we had several submitted for just Select Board, and then a few submitted just for Road Commissioner. So they're in no particular order. So first question, I will start with Howard, and then I think I will go the opposite way for the next one. What is one major change you would like to see in the position you are running for? You have 2 minutes.
The meetings are run. Listen to everybody's concerns, but as I mentioned in my opening remarks, this board should not be sitting here unless they have all the financial information in front of them, so that if someone walks in and they want to spend X amount of dollars for whatever reason, we can look in a moment's notice and find out how much is in an account and determine whether or not we're going to either accept it or deny it. Years ago when I was on the board, this is the way we did it, and if there was ever a question about expenditure, we usually would table it for the next meeting, and in between that, we'd get some information and find out if, in fact, what was going to be done, and leave it at that. But the main thing is the budget, and keeping our eye on the expenditures and the entire, all the monies for the town, whether they be in investments or whatever.
Clifton, do you want me to repeat it, or are you good?
I would have to agree with a lot of what Howard said. I believe accountability for the budget, where the money's going. Another big thing that I see as an outsider looking in is there seems to be a lack of civility and respect when it comes to some of the board members and the way that they address people. I think we need to bring that back, and a long, hard look as to how we are spending the money and some of the contracts that are being awarded. I find it hard to believe that on a lot of these contracts that we're only getting one bidder. So stuff like that, like I said, this is an outsider looking in, and I just have to wonder about some of this.
Do you want to hear the question again, or are you good? Okay, go ahead.
I think we're all thinking the same thing. We have to have an up-to-date idea of where the finances are, but I think that a lot of times decisions are made that night when they probably could go another week. So we have a chance to research what's going on and everything else, and I think everybody has to be up to speed. I don't know what the process is of looking at the warrants or when they get the information, It's just like when the bills come in. I made a statement the other night that I find it unfathomable that the town can't pay its bills on time, but I don't know if there's a way that the bills are received or how they're presented or anything. And I just think we have to be up to snuff on that so we can keep our finances in check.
Oh, unfortunately, I'm going to be a bore. I have to agree with the rest of them, so.
Okay. Rick, this question's also for you.
Could you repeat?
What is one major change you would like to see in the position you are running for?
I think attending the selectmen's meeting more frequently would be important. The board has questions quite often about concerns with what's going on with the maintenance and upkeep and which projects going on around the town. I think that's important, and our code enforcement officer has quite a bit of input. He has concerns and questions that need to be addressed because he's out on the road every single day and he sees a lot out there. I think a little more communication, kind of stay in touch with everybody and keep the progress report rolling so everybody is informed on how things are moving along.
Perfect. Okay, question number 2, Rick, we'll start with you. What past experiences do you believe will help you in the newly elected position?
My father was the road commissioner for over 40 years. I learned a lot from him. Just getting out and around town and just seeing what's out there and seeing how things are progressing. There's a lot of building going on. There's new people in town. There's a lot to do.
Dottie?
Repeat, please.
Yeah, of course. What past experiences do you believe will help you in the newly elected position?
Well, I've already had 3 years on the board. About 3 years ago, I finished up the term. I had 6 years on the planning board, and I worked down in the code office, so I'm here to see what's going on every day. So I have all that experience behind me, and one of the other things that I do is I do go to the trainings that MMA offers. So,
Bernie?
Well, I think I served as assistant fire chief here for 16 years. I had a fairly good idea of how to work on the budget up there. The fire chief and I were the ones for, like I said, 16 years that did that. We had a lot of help from other people, but we were the two constants on that. So we know how important it is to communicate to this office. But my strong suit is buildings and infrastructure, and I worked down at the shipyard for 34 years. I spent 18 years in the facilities and maintenance department, 4 of which as a supervisor. We took care of all the buildings, utilities, roads, and everything. When they had a downsize, I had the opportunity to go to the fire department. They felt they could still use my training that they gave me, spent all that time in the fire prevention branch and reviewed all the plans for all the building construction, modifications, access, fire protection systems and everything. So I think that should help me well in the town.
So I would take it all back to, I hate to beat a dead horse, but back to the finance part of it. As somebody that took fresh out of the military, buying a franchise and building it up from nothing to something that was profitable that we could sell, I know how to look at numbers, I know how to run the business, I know how to operate within my budget, and that seems to be a big thing. Also with my military training and working as an instructor at Southern Maine Community College, I'm pretty well adept at dealing with people and reading personalities and being able to communicate with people. So that's one of my strong suits also. Thank you.
Perfect. Howard? Of course. What past experiences do you believe will help you in the newly elected position?
Okay, I served for 9 years as the selectman previously. I've owned, as I mentioned, businesses in this town for over 50 years. I ran a department at the Southern Maine Community College for 32 years, which I had to deal with all the finances. And I just think that my past experience with owning a business, plus owning businesses, I should say, and dealing with the town, I just see a lot of things that should, not that anybody wants to see things go backwards, but there was a lot of pluses to the way we used to do things, and I can't remember the town being in a position like it's in today, if we use the same tactics, so to speak, as we used years ago, we wouldn't be in the position we're in today. And so my strong suit, if you will, is dealing with the finances.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Dottie, we'll start with you on this one. What is the reason that made you decide to run for the position? Please try and be specific, and what makes you the best candidate?
My smiling face. We all bring something different to the table. We all have different experiences. There's not any one thing that I can say that I'm better than anybody else at. I have had some experience on the board before. My prior job that I retired from, I was the assistant budget director, so I have a little bit of knowledge about budgets. But there's no one thing or another that I can say that I'm better than anybody else.
Okay.
I'll just smile nicer.
Bernie?
I guess it started 3 or 4 years ago when we started to move forward. They started with a water and sewer improvement. We got a new fire station. We've got things going. They went to it's not a full-time chief, it's a part-time chief, and that was a long time coming. It was just time to upgrade, and it was good to see that, but I also got concerned about the finances. When I really learned a lot that it was a dark area when we were submitting bills for the fire station up there as to how they were getting the money and where it was going. I was really concerned, and it's too bad because we have a lot of good people in town doing a lot of good work. We have a budget committee that breaks their tail off, and it seems sometimes like it's all for naught, and that's not right. We all have to work together, and we're not all working together. There's a lot of good intentions, but it seems like we're not all working together. Hopefully we can get there.
Do you want me to call you Bud? Okay. Do you want me to repeat the question, or are you good? Of course. What is the reason that made you decide to run for this position? Please try and be specific. And what makes you the best candidate?
So I guess the biggest reason is like I said, we've lived here for 23 years now, and I felt maybe it was time for me to maybe invest a little bit of my time and effort into this community and see if there wasn't some way that we could improve it. My ability to work with others, as long as they're willing to work with me, is a real asset. As long as you respect me, I respect you. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. Howard?
My main reason for running again was I spent, I don't know how many, I heard different things about how finances and how things were being handled. And I started to come into the selectmen's meetings, and I would say I asked at least a dozen times, dozen different meetings, where's the balance sheets? There was nothing on this table. And I just get a stare at me. And I'm a firm believer in have knowing how much money we've got in that checking account when we start that meeting. I don't want to go chasing this one and that one and getting a runaround. I want the finances right in front of me so I know what we got to spend, or if we have any money to spend. The other concern that I had was our town buildings. This building has not been painted, and I should have looked it up, but I was the one that contracted it last time to get it done. When I was on the board, this is, oh God, it's got to be 25 years ago.
25, 26 years
Yeah.
anyway.
And it's just, there's so much has got to be done to our buildings. We have to get on a maintenance program and plan, so right now we're in crisis management mode, and that is wrong. If you're gonna paint this building, we should have been looking at this 5 years ago and saying, let's put money away, because in 5 years, this is gonna have to be painted, and this is an estimated cost of what we think. Now, granted, I realize prices escalate, but you have to deal with that end of it. But all of our buildings have got to have work done to them, and it's gonna take a lot of time, and it's gonna take a lot of money. And we've just gotta figure out where we're gonna put our money to get the best bang for our buck, and what, if we have to get rid of a building or whatever because of things are so bad, so be it. But that's where I'm coming from, the finances and the buildings.
Rick?
Yes, I would, I'm running for this position because I'd like to see a lot more brush cutting done on the town roads for sight distance, especially on corners and intersections, because we all drive these roads every single day of the week. And when spring and early summer comes and the leaves come out, everything is just growing in. And sight distance is important, and when you see a school bus on a corner with those lights flashing, you need time to slow down, and if you can't see that, it's a surprise. And when it comes time for paving, there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done. It's nice to get together with the paving contractor and go over everything with him one-on-one, and then if something needs to be addressed before the paving happens, you take care of that, whether it's brush, culverts, ditches. There's a lot of preparation, and there's a lot of safety that needs to be, I feel, that needs to be addressed. Like I said, there's people out there willing to help, and I'm not afraid to call on a few people to give us a hand and get things done. Those are a couple of my concerns anyways. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so these are just select board questions. I'm just gonna split them, then I'm gonna go to Rick for a few, and then come back to the select board. So we will start with Bernie. How many members do you believe is adequate for the Limerick Select Board, and why?
I think 3 is enough. I think we're getting to the point where we're gonna need somebody in this office full-time. This is not a part-time job. This is big business. I think we need somebody that can gather everything, and if you get an administrator or a manager or whatever, you can get somebody here that knows how to go after federal money. And I realize it's an expense, but I think a good town business manager, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, would more than pull their fair share. And I think 3 selectmen would be more than adequate to work with the right person in that deal.
Okay, perfect. Bud?
Well, for a lack of a town manager, I believe you should stay at 5. just for a better representation of the community, being able to find out what people think, and not being able to just rifle something through the board.
Howard?
I'm a firm believer in a three-person board. I can't get all excited about the town manager. And there again, I'm gonna go back years and just say what used to happen. Worked out pretty good. Every selectman on the boards that I've served on before, we had our own individual things we took care of. And it worked out pretty good, and we all talked at each meeting, and we always had a good treasurer we dealt with. And if we went back to that situation, I can't see the way it's any different today. Granted, costs have gone up, maybe the budget's gone up, but it's nothing that three people can't handle, and I can't see spending 100 or 125 or whatever the figure is for a town manager just to tell us what we need to do. I mean, if we're all living in this town, we know on a daily basis what's going on. And you just deal with it every week. And I've seen some nights when I was on the board that I've walked out of here at 1 o'clock in the morning and started at 7 at night on the board, and just because of business that had to get done, we get it done. But I see now that, I mentioned before, kicking the can down the road. You got 5 people, and someone can't even get something done in a month's time. And that never used to happen. There's some exceptions, obviously, but depending on if you had to go and talk to the attorneys or something like that. But if every individual does their job and has a task, you can run this town with three people. I'm thoroughly convinced of it. Haven't been through it.
Okay. Dottie?
If we had a town administrator or a town manager who understands the state laws, I agree with going back to a 3-person select board. But without that, we definitely need 5 people on the board.
Second question here. We'll start with Bud. Do you believe Limerick would benefit from a town manager or administrator, select board type of government, and why? Do you feel the town has grown enough or will continue to grow to justify this?
I think the town has grown to the point where they do need somebody full-time. And the board, this is not a full-time position. Somebody's not dedicated to this, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I do believe that a town manager is warranted.
Howard?
As I mentioned, I don't believe that the manager is needed at this time. Now, having said that, as the town grows, maybe down the line, there is going to be a need for it, but presently, I just don't see it. Based on everything I'm hearing, and I'm seeing what the expenses are and what's got to be done, that town manager is nothing more than an overseer of the money. Well, if you've got 3 selectmen overseeing the money, what do you need the manager for? Other than giving you some insight of maybe some other things that are going on in town that maybe you're not aware of, but I think it's too soon to do that. Like I said, down the road maybe, but not at this time.
Okay. Dottie?
I firmly believe we are ready for a town administrator or a town manager. There might be 5 people on the board, but we all have different experiences and different knowledge and different understanding of things. A town administrator or a town manager has to have certain qualifications in order to do that job, and they would be overseeing all of the day-to-day operations of the office that the part-time board can't and doesn't have the time to do.
Okay. And Bernie?
I'm a firm believer that it's coming to the point where we do need a town manager. This is big business. this is big business. A town manager knows the rules. They probably wouldn't have to contact the lawyer so much. They know how to go after the monies and grants. I know when the last grant we got, it was 67 pages. 67 pages to get that, and you'd fill out a section, and you'd give it to this person, and you'd wait 2 weeks, and you'd call them up, oh yeah, I have it, but now I've turned it over to my assistant, so you can deal with them, and they'd say, no, you have to kick it back, and that was a lot to ask for a couple guys doing something on a part-time basis. It's, a good town manager would pay for himself or herself.
Howard, we'll start with you on this one. Do you believe the Select Board should review every invoice before being presented to the treasurer, and why?
Absolutely. I'll go one step further. They should be seeing what the departments are asking for prior to getting a bill. The classic example of this, when I was at the college, we had to write out purchase orders. That went to another person who checked it over and made sure that money was in the account and so forth, and then it went on to the college accountant. I just think that that's the way we should be going with it.
Okay, perfect. Dottie?
The department heads should see the invoices first. It's duplicating work. If the invoice comes to the select board, who only meets once a week, that means that the invoice is going to be held up for the board to look at, send back to the department head, for them to turn around and give it to the treasurer to put it on a warrant. So you're talking at least one more week, if not longer, before an invoice could be paid. The department heads are a department head for a reason, and if they don't know how to order or manage their budget, then they shouldn't be a department head. So, no, I believe all the invoices should go to the department heads first.
Anytime if anybody needs a question repeated, please just let me know. Bernie?
I think the department heads ought to see their invoices, everything. That's what they do. I mean, the selectmen can see it if you have a balance sheet in front of you, so that you know what each department has, and they send their invoices to you before you have to sign the warrant, then you've got a good take as to what is there. But that's why you have department heads, so they can manage their department.
Okay. Bud?
I'd agree with Dottie and Bernie. You have people that have been either elected or appointed to these positions, and that's what they're supposed to do. To me, that's just a severe, I shouldn't say severe, but that's just a form of micromanagement that doesn't need to be done.
This one kind of goes with the last question. Bud, we'll start with you. The Select Board recently implemented a purchase order standing operating procedure. Do you believe it was needed, and why?
I mean, if you have an SOP for the purchase orders, that way that everything is cut and dried, it's in black and white, and everybody knows exactly what has to be done in order to issue a purchase order or make a purchase. So yes, I believe that is a good thing.
Okay. Bernie?
I think a purchase order, it's a good idea, as long as we don't nickel and dime them. I mean, if they need a $10 item, do they have to go through the process of getting a purchase order? I don't know what the policy is here. I have no idea what it is. For major purchases, absolutely.
I don't agree with the purchase order. It worked fine. We never had any issues before. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's something I don't totally agree with.
Howard?
As I mentioned before, I'm a firm believer in it. Having dealt with it at the college, it was always, it's a checks and balance system. If someone brings a purchase order in and it's presented to the selectmen, and they approve it. It's sent out, you get your purchase, comes back in, it's checked to make sure by the department head that you in fact got what you asked for, and then that bill is sent to be paid, or sent, in our case, to a warrant, and to be approved. People tend to be scared of purchase orders because it's a lot of paperwork. But what you don't understand, it gives you a paper trail of what's going on, and there are safeguards built in there where something can be stopped. Now, I've seen it in this town where some stuff was bought, the selectmen didn't even know about it. And that's wrong. They should know approve every expenditure. Now, the one thing with purchase orders, you can have what is known as a blanket purchase order, and I'll use the fire department as an example, where they're down the hardware store or whatever, buying things. You could give that a blanket purchase order, let's say the plumbers for $1,000. And that would be left up to the department head, in this case the chief, to determine what's going on, and when it comes time for getting that replenished, so to speak, they'd have to come back to the board. It's not a automatic renewal type thing. So there are a lot of safeguards in it. Like I said, I dealt with it for years, and I'll tell you, when I first started, I probably complained more than anybody else did about doing all the writing, but at the tail end of it, before I retired, it was all computerized. It was a lot better off. But anyway, that's my take on it.
Excuse me. All right, Bernie, we'll start with you on this one. What will you do differently than previous current select board members?
Probably take the time to make a decision. I've seen so many decisions made here where they didn't have to be. I've seen contracts that have been almost the same, and it's, well, this guy's in town, let's do this, and it's worked out good, but I think on some of these major contracts or some decisions, we need to take a step back. If we have to wait a week or two, that's fine. You can't make snap decisions.
Dottie?
Ditto.
Howard?
I have to agree with Bernie on it. I've seen too many nights. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have any idea what we got for money, but yet they go out and buy cell phones or something like that, and with not even knowing where the money's coming from. And it's not right. Simple as that.
And Bud?
You sound like a broken record, but I agree with them because I haven't sat in the seat, so it's going to be all new. So I would have to agree.
All right, Rick, we're on you for a couple questions here. Why do you want to be the road commissioner?
Well, number one, we take pride in the work we do. I enjoy the people in this town. I don't know. It's just a normal, everyday thing for me to get out and just correspond with people, get their input, kind of observe, see what needs to be done, and look forward to doing something like that. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, next is, will you manage the position differently than past road commissioners, and how?
Yes, I would manage it differently. Whenever there's an emergency, you need to get a plan in place, and you need to assess that situation and make things happen quickly. Like I said, I'm fortunate. I have a lot of help. I have close friends, family, and a lot of townspeople that are willing to step up in case there is a situation like that, they're willing to help us out. I know most everybody in town, most everybody knows me, and they know I'm not afraid to speak up, I'm not afraid to ask for help, and make it happen.
Perfect. And the last one that I have for you is, do you believe the road commissioner should oversee the plowing contractor, and why?
I think we've always worked close with the plowing contractor in the past, the road commissioner has. As far as managing it, I don't think I'd want to manage it. I'd like to work close with him. I know the plowing contractor very well, known him for a long time. Actually, I helped him pull one of his trucks out here recently when he had a little mishap, so we work pretty tight together. As far as managing it, no, I don't think I need to manage it. I mean, maybe oversee it if something's going on, if there's a storm and I see something, I don't have a problem picking the phone up and calling him and say, hey, you know, one of the roads needs a little more attention. I'm not gonna tell him his job, but I'll definitely work together with him, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, back to the select board. Howard, we'll start with you. Our town seems to be spending a lot of money on items that should not be a priority. Will you make a priority list of projects that need to be done within the town?
Most definitely. That's one of my top priorities, making a list so we know what we need, what needs to be done, and how much it's gonna cost. And the other thing I might also add is, in my background, one thing that I did when I was at the college, I taught all the spec and contract writing courses. So I'm very well versed in that. And we just need to get a list, and we've got to prioritize things, and right now it is not being prioritized.
Bud?
Can you repeat the question?
Our town seems to be spending a lot of money on items that should not be a priority. Will you make a priority list of projects that need to be done within the town?
Yeah, that should be a top priority, to make sure that the taxpayers' dollars are being spent appropriately and not wasted and just thrown away. That's one of the biggest complaints in the town, is we're not taking care of the money that they're paying into the town.
Bernie?
Absolutely 100%. Probably got part of one already scratched out now. Not being a little preemptive, but I think that's a good thing to do, and if we have a new board and a new road commissioner, because some of those projects are pretty big, you sit down, you have a workshop, and you get all your priorities together, and then go from there.
Dottie?
I know the current board has put some top priority things together, and a lot of that money has to be voted on, so to make a priority list, you're only one of 5, and the only thing that I can say that I would do is vote down some of the non-essential or petty things that probably we shouldn't be spending money on right now.
Okay, perfect. Bud, we'll start with you on this one. Please give at least 3 things you would like to change that you feel will be beneficial to the town of Limerick and its citizens.
Number 1 would be accountability for the money that's being spent. 2 would be the way that we're tracking everything. It seems like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and a perfect example of that, and I'll make this my 3rd point, was the other night I was watching this, and they were talking about, I'm going to transfer money from this account to this account to this account to this. I don't even know how they keep track of the accounts that they have. It just, I was confused. This all needs to be rectified.
Howard?
Please repeat the question again.
Please give at least 3 things you would like to change that you feel will be beneficial to the town of Limerick and its citizens.
I think number one, first of all, is listen to the taxpayers. And secondly, just watch that accounting and not cave into special interests, but listen to the taxpayers.
I can't come up with 3 things, but I think one major thing is, like Bud hit on it, the budget. There's too many different accounts that they're confusing. They're too many. They need to be more streamlined, they need to be cut back. I think everybody's having an issue with it, so that it does complicate things of where the money is supposed to be. I think that's the one major thing that needs to be fixed.
Okay. And Bernie?
I think we need to get everybody that's in charge of running the town together and get on the same page. And I agree with Bud, Dottie, and Howard. That meeting the other night where we were moving money here and there, I came in to this meeting, I had questions and concerns. I left with more questions and concerns than I came in with. We have to get the money so it's transparent, so the townspeople see it. That's all everybody talks outside of here. That's all everybody talks about, is how we don't know where the money's going.
Bernie, we're going to start with you on this one. How much time can you devote to your new position if elected?
Me? I plan on putting quite a bit of time in to start, because there's a lot of things that I'm well-versed on, and there's a lot of things I'm not, and I'm probably going to be spending time in your office trying to figure out what's going on, if you'll help me.
Of course.
I mean, I'm retired, I can spend a fair amount of time, but however, we've gotten back to, running this town is not a part-time job anymore. It isn't. It isn't. We need somebody that really has a handle as to what's going on the day-to-day operations.
Dottie? How much time can you devote to your new position if elected?
All the time that's needed. I would be available, well, I hate to say 24/7, but if need be, I would be.
Howard?
As I mentioned before, I'm retired, and as of a year ago, we built up a golf business to the point where we hired a general manager, so I don't have to be down there every day. And if I get back on the board, I plan on being in here about every day to see what's going on. I'm not gonna be a part-time selectman.
Okay. And Bud?
Well, fortunately, my school teaching schedule allows me to be pretty flexible, so I mean, I will give the amount of time that is needed to do the job effectively if I'm elected. I've already started taking some of the online MMA seminars and stuff like that, just to try and get a step up, because currently I'm on the appeals board, which I'll have to step down if I get elected, but whatever it takes to do the job properly.
Perfect. This one is a little lengthy, so I may need to repeat it. Dottie, we'll start with you. Would you support changing the current hearing of citizens policy to reflect the following? Having the hearing of citizens before new business, having the questions and comments limited to items that are on the agenda only unless they've been approved otherwise by the chairman, and do you favor that requirement for all major items to be discussed from the hearing of citizens be placed on future agenda?
I feel the hearing of citizens should be held at the end of the meeting, not before new business. The select board meeting is a business meeting. The selectmen should have the meeting, have their business meeting, and then at the end of it, let the citizens speak up, and they should at least have we've always had a sign-in sheet that people should sign in for with their questions. And that is something that should be implemented again, but they shouldn't be restricted to what they want to ask. It's hearing of the citizens, so it shouldn't be limited to what happened at the meeting. If they want to bring something up, that's fine, but if they want to talk about something totally different, then that's their right to do that.
Okay. Howard?
I think that the hearing of citizens should be at the end, and I don't think too much of having to submit questions the previous week, everything, because for the simple reason, if someone has a question on a Friday, after the office here is closed, and you want to have it discussed on a Monday night, you don't want to be told, well, you got to wait a week, when it could be a very important question. And not only that, but just let people vent. You let them, by putting more restrictions on things, you're just asking for trouble. I know years ago, we used to be an open meeting, we didn't have the TV or any of that, and anybody could come in and ask us any question they wanted. Now granted, it's more formal now, but just let the people come in and ask the questions. They're the ones that's paying our taxes. They're paying our salaries. So they're in the driver's seat.
Okay. Bud?
Yes, I believe that they should get all new business out of the way first, and then do that at the end. We're here for the citizens. They should be allowed to come in and speak, plain and simple. If they got a complaint or concern, they should be able to voice that. And we shouldn't put all kinds of restrictions on it because it's something that we don't want to hear. Thank you.
Bernie?
Yeah, I think the business of the town ought to be conducted, and then the hearing of citizens should be at the end. And if people have questions that pertain to department heads and they're not here, they ought to make arrangements to have them come in the following week and speak to that then. But the business of the town needs to be done first, and then the hearing of citizens, and let them say what they got to say, whether you want to hear it or not.
Okay. Howard, we'll start with you on this one. Do you see a pathway to lowering taxes instead of raising them every year?
That's a loaded question. A lot of things go into that. How much money are we getting from the state? You know, there's a lot of factors that enter into that as far as everybody wants to, well, I hope everybody wants to see their taxes drop, but to, I don't know how I can put this. I guess, just repeat that question again.
Of course. Do you see a pathway to lowering taxes instead of raising them every year?
Well, number one, you can curb the spending. I've seen a lot of things passed in this town that probably never should have been passed, and it's got to stop. You know, the spending and all these projects and stuff, it's nice to have them, but they come with a cost. And once some people don't realize, when they vote for this stuff, they'll say, oh, well, you know, it's only such and such. But they don't realize they got to pay for this for 20 years or whatever. So.
Okay. Bud?
I don't know so much if you're going to be able to lower them. I believe that there's probably a good way, a pathway to leveling it off so that every year people aren't seeing these huge jumps. Everything goes up every year. It doesn't matter what it is. So the cost of running the town is gonna go up. But by being accountable on what we're spending money on and not just on frivolous things and knowing where every dime is going, just like your household has to do, yeah, I believe that we can probably curtail raising the taxes. I don't know about lowering it.
Okay. Bernie?
I'd like to see us level the taxes off. I mean, we have some things we have to do in this town, but when you take a step back, that 70+ cents of every tax dollar goes out of town, either to the schools or the county. We send $10,000 a day down to the school. We don't even have any, we don't have any physical property or anything as a district other than school buses here.
Right.
That's, you know, I think we can scrutinize what we spend here, but we still can't scrutinize what gets spent out of town. That's where the biggest amount of our money goes.
Dottie?
The amount of money that we could save on taxes by adjusting how the town spends money would be literally pennies, because like, as Bernie just said, 70 to 75% of the taxes that we pay goes right directly to the school. We have no control over that. Another 3% goes to the county. So that leaves roughly between 25 and 30%, depending on what year it is and what's going on, that the town, of the tax money that goes to the town. So there's not a lot of play there that we could lower the taxes, or the best we can do, as Bud said, keep it where it is.
Okay. This is the last question that I have for the night. Bud, we'll start with you. Do you believe there are any current town-owned buildings that should be sold?
I don't feel that I'm well enough educated in what the town owns and doesn't own to answer that question accurately.
Okay. Bernie?
Yeah, there are some I think should be sold, and some should be reevaluated. I just, you know, we've got this building, and we've got the brick town hall that we could make use of. If we have to maintain them, we ought to use them as much as we can. We've got some other ones that we can definitely sell. If you sell them and you get them on the tax rolls, you get that money in from the taxes on the buildings, and you can use the money that you get from the sale maybe to apply to the other buildings or improve more of the infrastructure around.
Okay. Dottie?
The only building that comes to mind that really isn't doing much of anything is the little tiny Moore building right up next to the old bank. I know there's the Grange Hall, and that's used at least 5 days a week. Those would be the only two buildings I could think of. But where the Grange building is used as much as it is, I'm just not sure whether that's worth selling or not.
Okay. And Howard?
First thing that has to be done before you think about getting rid of buildings is having a survey of all those buildings and finding out, number one, is there anything wrong with them? And if so, what's it gonna cost to fix them? And what's the overall, the present usage, and what's it costing to maintain them? And we've had a building committee that I sat on. That's one thing we didn't do. Didn't look and say, how much is it costing for electrical and everything else? If you look over the entire situation on every one of those buildings, you can determine that some have mold in them, some of them are just ridiculous to heat, or is it gonna cost X amount of $1,000 to fix them up and just say, at this point, it's just not worth it. So I think every building has to be taken one by one, and whether it's a group of people and knowledgeable people coming in, looking at the buildings and knowing the systems and everything to make that determination. that's all I gotta say.
Okay. So at this time, I will give you 2 minutes for your final thoughts. Rick, we'll start with you.
Well, I just want to take this time to thank everybody tonight and look forward to March, see how everything works out. I just want to reach out to Bud and say thank you for your service, Bud. I appreciate that, as of all the veterans. I just look forward to getting out there and still talking with all the people we always talk to and the new people out there. There's a lot of new houses, a lot of new people, and a lot of new faces that we haven't met yet, and it seems like the town's really growing in numbers, so looking forward to doing the job and doing it well and giving 100%. Thank you.
Perfect. Dottie?
I just want to thank everyone, and, I'm going to do the best that I can if I'm elected.
Okay. Bernie?
I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and I think anybody that knows me knows that if I get elected, I'll jump in head over heels. I might always not make the right decision, or make the right decision that's going to make everybody happy. You can't do that. People that know me know I am opinionated, but that's just the way it goes. I've given 50 years to this town, and I hope I can give a little more. Thanks.
Bud?
First off, I want to thank everybody that thought I was a horse worth backing. Thank you to everybody for listening to what I had to say. If I'm elected, I'm going to do everything to advocate for you in my power. Thank you.
Howard?
Thank everybody that nominated me, and I look forward to and I appreciate anybody that votes for me. And I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and getting this town back on its track to be the town or the board for the people. And I'm not in it for me. I'm just in it for the town, and I'll do the best I can to keep expenses down, and everything I do will be for the people.
Okay. Thank you all. I think that was super productive and informative tonight, so I appreciate your time in coming and making it happen. Just a reminder, absentee ballots start tomorrow, February 12th, and voting is going to be March 14th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. here at the Municipal Building. So again, thank you all for coming, and hope you have a great night.